Could other royals now have coronavirus? How Prince Charles met the Queen and family members, from Prince William and Kate Middleton to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in the 2 weeks before testing positive. Prince Charles has had contact with possibly hundreds of people over the past fortnight, including the Queen and Prime Minister Boris Johnson. The 71-year-old heir to the throne, who has tested positive for coronavirus, carried out at least 6 engagements as the outbreak gathered pace. He last met with the Queen briefly at Buckingham Palace on March 12, with doctors believing he could have been contagious from the following day. Charles also met all the senior members of the royal family apart from Prince Philip at the annual Commonwealth service at Westminster Abbey on March 9. Others royals at the service included the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, who have since moved to Manor Hall in Norfolk with their 3 children. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who have since returned to Vancouver Island before they stepped down as senior royals on March 31, were also there. The Queen, who remains in good health, travelled from Buckingham Palace to Windsor Castle last Thursday, where Philip joined her from Sandringham. Charles's last public engagement was on March 12 when he attended a dinner at Mansion House in aid of the Australian bushfire relief and recovery effort. But following this, Charles did have a number of private meetings with Highgrove and Duchy individuals, all of whom have been made aware. On March 9, the day of the Commonwealth service, Charles and his wife Camilla also went to Marlborough House in London for a reception. They were guests of Commonwealth Secretary-General Baroness Scotland at the event to mark Commonwealth Day at the Commonwealth Secretariat. 1 day later, Charles was with Monaco's head of state Prince Albert II, who has since tested positive for coronavirus. Charles is not believed to have shaken hands with Prince Albert but attended a roundtable meeting with him at the WaterAid Summit in London on that day. And on March 11 Charles, the president of the Prince's Trust, met award winners and the charity's supporters at the annual Prince's Trust Awards. Celebrities he met at the event included actors Pierce Brosnan, James Norton and Richard E. Grant, Rolling Stone Ronnie Wood and presenters Ant and December. Then 1 day later on March 12, Charles had a short meeting with the Queen in the morning at Buckingham Palace after holding an investiture ceremony. Charles gave honours to children's TV presenter Baroness Benjamin, Scottish composer Helen Grime and the Searchers singer Michael Prendergast. And later that evening, Charles attended a dinner at Mansion House in aid of the Australian bushfire relief and recovery effort. He met with the Lord Mayor of the City of London, William Russell, and the High Commissioner for Australia, George Brandis, at the event. The Prince was pictured practicing namasts instead of handshakes at his public events, including when the royals gathered for the Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey on March 9, and the Prince's Trust event on March 11. Today, a Clarence House spokesman said Charles was displaying mild symptoms but is in good health as he self-isolates at home in Scotland. Camilla, 72, who is also at Birk Hall, in Aberdeenshire, has tested negative for the virus, so is separating herself from the Prince. Buckingham Palace said the 93-year-old monarch, who is staying at Windsor Castle with the 98-year-old Duke of Edinburgh, remains in good health and is following all appropriate advice. Philip was not with the Queen at Buckingham Palace when she last met Charles on March 12. Charles has spoken to both his sons, the Duke of Cambridge, who is in Norfolk with the Duchess of Cambridge and their young children, and the Duke of Sussex, who is in Canada. He has also been in touch with the Queen. In a statement, Clarence House said, "The Prince of Wales has tested positive for coronavirus. He has been displaying mild symptoms but otherwise remains in good health and has been working from home throughout the last few days as usual." In accordance with government and medical advice, the Prince and the Duchess are now self-isolating at home in Scotland. The tests were carried out by the NHS in Aberdeenshire where they met the criteria required for testing. It is not possible to ascertain from whom the Prince caught the virus owing to the high number of engagements he carried out in his public role during recent weeks. A source said his doctor's most conservative estimate was that the Prince was contagious on March 13. A small number of people living and working at Birk Hall are remaining at the residence and self-isolating. The source said the prince was up and about and not bedridden. Medical advice is that it is unlikely to escalate into a more serious case. A Buckingham Palace spokesman said today, Her Majesty the Queen remains in good health. The Queen last saw the Prince of Wales briefly after the investiture on the morning of March 12 and is following all the appropriate advice with regard to her welfare.